Okay, and so now my submersible has an arm. Most of these submersibles have like arms that they use, right, to grab stuff. And in fact, many deep wars submersibles are actually animal-like, have like living components to them and all that. But this is obviously a machine, and I have so the arm here, and I made this with a combination of sticks, those lollipop sticks. I get those these little craft beads from the dollar store or from the craft section at Walmart, and that's what I do to kind of adorn, make these roundish portions here and here. I add a little bit of hot glue to cap off the hole here. And then my famous clothespins, because I use clothespins for everything, to adorn sort of the arms a little bit. Now, once you paint all this, it'll be a little nicer. And then, of course, a very small clothespin for the grippy part of the arm. And then inside, now I drill a hole with my Dremel, and then inside I put one of the springs that holds the clothespins together, and that becomes the inner mechanism of the arm somehow, right? And so then I put a piece of thicker wire like this. I cut it and insert it as a bolt into the piece there, which then goes inserted into that spring, and that's what kind of holds my arm together. Now it has some motion, but it's not important for me to have motion. I mean, this thing is going to be embedded into the, in fact, it'll probably be like this, something like this. It'll be embedded in the rock, so it's going to be kind of at an angle like that, so that figures can, interact with it. Now, here's a Deep Wars figure, and it is important from time to time to really check with the figures and see if I'm doing well with the scale and all that. So obviously a figure fits in there, and that's very good. And here's my sculpted figure. It's a little bit bigger, but it does fit in there as well. So that's good. And this is obviously a tight little submarine. This would be for two people or something like that. This is a very small submersible. Okay. So there we got the arm going. And now I'm going to start to plan on the rock work where this is going to go embedded. Okay, and that's it. Okay, so to make the arm, another arm, I'm going to have another arm kind of broken up on the rock. Whatever rock work I use, I'm going to take a craft stick, join it like so, and I'm going to give this arm a little bit of an angle. This is going to be the forearm, and so then I take my other craft stick, okay, so that I have this situation going on. Now I trim any corners that might be coming out of the, any squared corners or anything like that. Just kind of trim everything up. Okay, so I have this situation going. Then I cut my craft stick to size. Just use the other craft stick as a measuring tool. Okay, and so I have that. Next, I'm going to insert my wire piece here. Okay, so we have this situation going on, so I'm going to put a little bit of hot glue there, and that mimics, a spring loading mechanism, something, just to give the illusion that this moved, Okay, so that's prepared. And now on this side, I take another craft stick. Make sure I use my round ends for the actual like elbow, right? It just makes it look a little better. And then I'm just going to cover some of this wire. Now in this one, it's not so crucial that I cover the wire on this side, because It's going to be on the rock, sitting on the rock somewhere. It's going to be like a portion of the wrecked arm. It's not going to go attached to the submersible, I don't think. Okay, so I'm just going to... All right, so I'll keep my ugly side down, and that's what's going to go on the rock. Pull this out a little bit. Okay, next I'm going to take a little bit of wire. Make sure it's nice and straight. It doesn't have to be too straight. I mean, if it's banged up and, you know, part of a wreck, it's the nice thing about wrecks. You don't have to be like super crazy with it. You can always, if something doesn't come out straight, it's part of the wreck. Just make sure you're consistent with what you're doing. I'm just going to insert that in there, okay, to give the illusion of, you know, the piece that moves the arm. So that kind of does my arm mechanism. I'm going to put some more glue in there. And remember, with the glue, I use the hot glue to give some texture, some really like... it just I could use it to mimic like algae growth and stuff like that. Now for my little claws, I go down here to where I cut it and insert my hot glue gun. Remember, hot glue can really burn you up, so make sure you are careful with it. All right, I'm gonna like bend it a little, kind of give the illusion of a wrist or something. All right, and I go back with my hot glue gun and make sure all of the glue is melted in there and really securing everything. Now later you can put rivets. I can put rivets here, you know, and things like that to decorate it. Now, to give it a little more interest, put a piece right in the center there. That just gives it so it's not so flat. You know, I mean, this mechanism wouldn't be so flat. Now you can, instead of using flat craft sticks, you can use dowels, which I don't have right now. I have to get some. So I'm using these flat sticks. You could always also file things down a little bit, make them a little rounder. Point there just to give it a little bit of, you know, I mean, obviously this thing has to move. So then I'm going to cap it. A little bit of hot glue, let that dry up in the shape of a big rivet or something. And this is a flatter piece, and I'm just gonna put that here to mimic like the wrist, where the wrist would turn. And I'm only doing one side because this is gonna be on a rock, probably something like this, you know. So it was part of the sub, but is probably just laying on a rock, you know, like that, because it's part of the wreck. All right, and then I just need one more. Take a little clothespin apart, and again, just to give the wood, instead of keeping this all flat, kind of put it in here to give it a little more interest, right? Give it an interesting shape. And there you go, and there's the makeshift arm. And I can file this a little bit. Submersible part is almost finished. We got to work on the base that's going to house this big thing. We got to do a propeller. One of the things I love about these bottles is these little plastic details there. That's really cool. So I'm going to insert a wire. I'm going to use my Dremel, insert the wire for the propeller. I'll make my own propeller. Okay, and then we're going to add a couple of more details to it, and then it'll be done. Maybe a hatch or two somewhere, and then it'll be done. And this is going to get painted in a gold and then washed to weather it a bit. But gold, because a lot of things in Deep Wars have that kind of gold color. It's almost like a steampunk style, you know, for their submersibles. So I'm going to follow that style. I'm going to do a nice gold covering on this. Okay, and before I do anything else, I add some globs of glue to represent rivets. You can see them there. And just let this dry. Let it dry. Don't do anything else. I put a mask, kind of bent up, and you know, uh, it's certainly not straight. But I put a mast, and I use one of these wooden beads, the cylindrical ones, to hold the mast in place. And then I put another round bead there. That'll be something else. We'll decorate that later. Okay. So submarine wreck is on its way. Okay, and this is a sneak peek ahead. This is what the submersible will look like with that nice gold paint. Now, keep in mind, the submersible is painted in gold, but then the interior is painted in silver. So I spray paint that with a little silver, but the most important thing is to give this a nice wash. We give it a wash, dull down a little bit of the metal because it is underwater, and then we're going to add some little critters growing in certain areas because obviously this is a wreck. It's been around for a little while, right? Okay. But this is another way to maybe make some actual submersibles for a game, you know, and make actual submersibles that we can move around the table. That would be cool. Using the same technique, except being a little neater with the hot glue so that, you know, we can make like a working submersible. So anything is possible, guys. All right, it just needs a propeller and a rudder and some tail fins. We'll maybe give it a fish-like look back there, and then it's ready to be put on its resting rocks, on the rocks that it is resting on. So, all right, thank you, folks. The submersible is almost complete, and I suspect that this will be a 3-part mini-series, something like that. So we're going to, once the submersible is complete, then we're going to make the base and add it to the base, you know, so it appears to be wrecked on the whatever reef area that we're building. So that's the wreck portion of Deep Sea Project, and that's making a submersible wreck for Deep Wars. Okay, we will look at other deep sea terrain pieces, but for the most part, we'll have, I think, one more mini series of videos, and then that series will end. We will have enough terrain to have our first Deep Wars game. All right, folks, thank you very much. And Julie's busy here with Oathmark boats. She is painting the Oathmark boats that you will see in an Oathmark River Battles coming next week, actually. So she's busy here painting up. Thank you, Julie. All right, folks, thank you very much, and we'll talk very soon.